Welcome back, everyone, to the FloTrack podcast. I'm Kevin Sully, happy to be joined by Gordon Mack. On today's show, we're going to dive into the NCAA cross-country championships that are coming up this Saturday. Also talk about some sprinting news involving Elaine Thompson. Hurrah! And we'll talk about a reallocated medal from 2012, almost 10 years ago. Now, the email address, flotrackpodcast@gmail.com, as I mentioned, and you should subscribe to the show if you haven't yet on our YouTube page, FloTrack Podcast YouTube page. That is. Gordon, good morning. How are you? Are you ready for championship week?
Go Birds. Go Birds. They won a football game, finally. It's been great. That's all I got to say about that. Back to what my job is, which is talking about running. Weekend was great, getting excited for NCAAs on Saturday. We had a good regional weekend. The Colas calculator correctly predicted the 31 teams on both the men's and women's side. So now that we have our fields ready to go, we're what now, like 5 days away, 6 days away? So exciting.
Yeah, so we're going to talk individual favorites, and you made some odds, which are kind of fun. I looked at it on the rundown. I said, wait a minute. Did Gordon have a line into someone at the MGM Grand or something? What happened here? And then I realized you made them. But I looked at them, and I think they're pretty good. But I want to start first on the team side of things. You released late last night, probably somewhere between 3 and 4 a.m., if anybody knows the history of Gordon and cross-country rankings. You released your final rankings, men's and women's. The headline here on the men's side, you have Oklahoma State jumping all the way up from 2 to 1. On the back of their regional performance. So they leapfrog NAU, who got beat by BYU at the Mountain Region. Then you have Notre Dame 3, BYU 4, Iowa State 5, and Arkansas dropped them down to 6th. What happened here, Gordon? Why the last-minute shuffle?
Well, first of all, winning and losing at the regional level means absolutely nothing. Most of the teams in the Mountain Region were kind of just going together. So I don't think the BYU beating NAU really means anything. It wouldn't mean anything if it was the other way around either. Same thing between Oklahoma State and Iowa State. Doesn't matter how they would finish. Arkansas and Texas. Texas beat Arkansas, but Arkansas is a better team than Texas. So, and then you look at like spreads of athletes and you look at Notre Dame, like they had like an entire pack all like within 6 seconds of each other. Yeah, but they were running 30 minutes. Like, what you have to realize is most of the top teams recognize, hey, guys, we just have to go through the formality. No one's trying to win. No one's trying to show their cards. So tight spreads don't really mean much. Wins and losses don't mean much. But what does mean much to me is now that all the data points are in and we're able to look back from early season to mid-season to postseason to regional season, 3 teams have really kind of surfaced to the top as title contenders. And those 3 teams, Oklahoma State, Northern Arizona, and Notre Dame. And then when it comes down to like breaking down those 3 in a tier, your brain wants to tell you it's Northern Arizona. They're the defending champions. They've won 4 out of 5. Like, it's no brainer. They're a title contender, 4 out of 5. They're the favorites. But you look at what Oklahoma State is doing, and they're doing it quietly. They're the only team at the national meet that did not compete at either pre-nets or nutty-comb. The other 30 teams all competed at pre-nets and nutty-comb except for Oklahoma State. They did not run that weekend. Oklahoma State has raced Northern Arizona at the Cowboy Jamboree, albeit in September. So you get a little bit of data from there. Oklahoma State has raced Iowa State back-to-back weekends, or at Big 12s and at Mountain Regional. And Iowa State is the winners of Nutty-Comb, and you kind of can look at the analysis there. And basically what I get from breaking all this down is between Northern Arizona, Notre Dame, and Oklahoma State, they're basically a wash through 3. Now, not to say Northern Arizona clearly has a big lead through 3, but
yeah,
it's not that big. It is a lead. But when you look at the 4 and 5, and you compare Northern Arizona's 4 to Oklahoma State's 4 to Notre Dame's 4, and we compare Oklahoma State's 5 to Northern Arizona's 5 and Notre Dame's 5, Oklahoma State, if you were to rank those 6 athletes, the 3 4s and the 3 5s, I believe Oklahoma State goes 1-2 in that 6-man race. And if I'm looking at that, that means they're going to win. Now, this is just a ranking. Obviously, chaos can happen. Northern Arizona can win. Notre Dame can win. But based off of the numbers, based off of the regular season performance, Oklahoma State is the favorites. And doesn't mean they're going to win. I think one of those 3 teams are going to win. But,
Yeah.
hey, I can't deny what Dave Smith has been doing with this Oklahoma State team. And as a result, they are the final ranked number 1 team going into the championship meet. So congrats. Now they have a lot to live up to because we're probably the only ones who are going to rank them number 1. I'm sure the coaches aren't going to do it because they're not noticing it. But Oklahoma State is the best team on paper right now. And no one knows about it. Everyone's going to be talking about NAU BYU because BYU beat NAU at the Mountain Regional. But no, BYU's not even in the conversation. Everyone's talking about Notre Dame, Northern Arizona because of them going 1-2 last year. No. Sure, they're in the conversation. But Oklahoma State is the favorites going in. Doesn't mean they're going to win, but based off the regular season, based on what I've seen, they're number 1.
How confident are you in Rodriquez to be a top 10 guy?
Oh, I'm confident. He finished 16th in a regional that doesn't matter. It's fine. He'll be a gamer. He goes toe to toe with Wesley Kiptoo every time. I think at this moment he's kind of like, all right, who cares if I don't need to challenge Wesley Kiptoo at a mountain regional. I just need to go with my teammates. Yeah. He's gonna be fine. He's a gamer. He's gonna show up. I don't think he's gonna win by any means, but I think he can at least finish somewhere between 5th and 15th. And if he does that, that's, I think, enough. Because the success of Oklahoma State isn't Isai Rodriguez getting 3rd. It's Isai getting top 15, and then their 2-3 putting their number 2 guy finishing 25th, their number 3 guy finishing 35th, 4 guy finishing 40th, and their 5 guy finishing like 45th. And basically having such a big pack in the top 40 with the high scoring, probably eventual winner, that will be enough.
I like the composition of Oklahoma State. As we mentioned earlier in the season, you got experience, you got younger guys, but the younger guys had the 2020 season to kind of use as a dress rehearsal for where we're at. I mean, they hosted the championships back in March, but they have that good mixture. And Rodriguez has been on the scene for a while now. I guess the only flaw I see in what you're saying, and I get that back half is you're saying stronger for Oklahoma State, but in that 2-3 range there, the reason why I think people are gravitating towards Notre Dame, BYU, NAU is they've seen that second, third person thrive more. Like they're comfortable with saying, "Oh, Klinger, top 10, he can do it." Oh, Nur and Bosley, they're household names in the cross country world. They can do it, and I just think they're not as familiar as how good Oklahoma State is 2 through 5, and they are very good. And someone, like Smeaton, for example, right? He's been a stud on the track in the steeplechase, but that's probably part of it too. Notre Dame, right? All their 5 did last year. I would say last year, last championships. I think that's part of the reason why people are underselling Oklahoma State. They know Rodriguez and they're like, oh, I can hang my hat on Rodriguez, but that next group is really solid. And they've been, if you look at their whole season, they've been solid the whole way through. And it's been the similar, right? It's Mayer, it's Shoppy, it's Shitsama, it's Smeaton, like I mentioned. It feels like they're all healthy and they're all together at the right time.
Yeah, and don't forget Shea Foster, who the transfer from
Yeah, but
Southeastern Louisiana, 1330 guy. I think he finished in the 40s at the championship last year. There's not a cliff after 5. The cliff is after probably 6, which is good. That means they have that extra body to kind of interchange with someone who might have a bad day.
yeah,
And I think you said they don't have everyone knows who Isai is, but people have yet to really know who Alex Mayer is. Smeaton
yeah,
is a guy, but he's a steepler, so it's not as sexy as someone like running in the fast 5K. They just don't have
mhm,
like Schitsma and Foster, Shoppy. They're all they're just guys without the name.
yeah,
NAU, because of the brand and because they've been winning, you're starting to, with Drew Bosley more, right? People know who Drew
yep,
Bosley is because, you know, he's been a key member for a championship team. So you learn the
yeah,
name. But Drew Bosley could be interchangeable with like an Alex Mayer, in my opinion,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Alex Mayer
mhm,
was 17th as a freshman.
yeah,
Uh, oh no, not as a freshman, as a sophomore, 17th
mhm,
at NCAA Cross in 2021. He
yeah,
was he got third at the Big 12 championship, which is pretty good because Wesley Kipton's in the race. Drew Bosley, he was like 20s in the 20s his freshman year.
mhm,
I think he went on to win Big Sky. But
mhm,
everyone knows who Drew Bosley is, but not as many people know who Alex Mayer is. And I think
yeah,
they're just quietly, and they didn't run. If Oklahoma State would have ran at Nuttycombe or Prenats, more people would be talking about them. But people just choosing to forget that this team exists. I'm sure Carlson, Notre Dame coach, and Mike Smith, NAU coach, definitely are not going to be surprised about Oklahoma State. They know that they are legit, and they know that's the team they have to keep an eye on. Um, but the fans might be just kind of, oh, okay,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. To your to your point about last year though, with Mayer coming in 17th, there were 4 NAU guys already in. Now one of them has graduated. Actually,
two
2
of
of
them
those
are
guys have
graduated.
graduated. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, Farrow and Grijalva. But that's my point. We got so wrapped up in NAU versus Notre Dame because there was such a clear cutoff after those two, and NAU still won comfortably, but Notre Dame had a little bit of put a scare into them, I think. But they just felt farther back than they actually were. I think this is really close. I think all those teams that you mentioned can win this meet. I think this is much closer than it's been in years past when we've seen upsets. I'd even throw it seems like you're down on Arkansas now based on what they did in the regional, even though you said the regional doesn't matter. But I think Arkansas's even got a puncher's chance.
Yeah, I'm not down on Arkansas. I just think there's a tier. The first tier is Oklahoma State. They're the favorites. The
Hmm.
second tier is Northern Arizona, Notre Dame. They can beat the favorite. And then the third tier, I would put BYU, Iowa State, Arkansas in that third tier. And then Hail Mary chance would be the fourth tier, which is Wisconsin, Stanford, Tulsa, Colorado. That's a Hail Mary.
So you've talked about how this is a track meet basically because the course is so flat and the temperature is going to be warm. This will not be Madison. This will not be Terre Haute. This won't be Stillwater either because it's going to be incredibly flat. If you go based on track PBs, have you looked at that? Who has the edge there?
I did not do that because you can't do that. And I'll tell you why. There are certain athletes who are expected to be good in people's top 5 who don't have a 5K PB. Maybe they only have a
Yeah.
10K. Maybe they're a miler. Like someone like George Koosh is really hard to kind of analyze because he doesn't really have any good 5K to his name. So you can do that, but I mean, I would say, I think I was breaking down Oklahoma State, Notre Dame, and Northern Arizona. I was like,
Hmm.
uh, if the number one indicator is last year's championship, then Notre Dame
Hmm.
wins. If the number one
Yeah.
indicator is this regular season, then I think Oklahoma State wins.
Hmm.
And then if the number one indicator is track pedigree, then I think NAU wins. If that makes sense.
So no conclusions at all here for Gordon.
Yeah. Well, the
Anybody
conclusion was
can win.
Oklahoma State. Obviously anyone can win. There's never a sure thing in sports, right? I mean, Tampa Bay just lost to the Washington football team, so anything can happen. But
Yeah.
I think you just have to be able to correctly kind of let people know, let the world know
Let me ask
where
you this.
what the pecking order is. And the pecking order, in my opinion, is Oklahoma State, Northern Arizona, Notre Dame, and then the rest.
Okay, let's go back 2 years to Terre Haute when NAU was a big favorite. How many teams could you fit in that gap that we thought existed between NAU and BYU? Because those were the two. Those are the two. But there was we thought there was a sizable gulf there, and they ended up losing. How many teams fit in that same group now, do you think? How many teams would be smaller underdogs than BYU was in 2019? It's got to be at
I'm
least
kind of
four.
confused. Yeah.
So
Well, the gap between Oklahoma.
if you're saying BYU was 10-1 to win the 2019 NCAA cross country championship, how many teams this year have better than 10-1 odds, other than Oklahoma State? Because you were saying Oklahoma State's and I'm just using those numbers
Oh,
as an example,
I
so
would
Gordon can understand.
say 5 teams have better
But
odds than the BYU team had in 2019.
yeah,
I'd
that's
say
okay. I agree.
NAU, Notre Dame, BYU, Iowa State, and Arkansas all have a better shot at winning than BYU did when they actually won.
Yeah. So
Uh,
my point is
yeah.
the number sixth ranked team could win this title, and it would be in many ways a bigger upset than the second ranked team winning in or sorry, it would
It'd be
not be as
less of
big of an upset.
yeah,
Yeah, I
be
screwed
less
it
of an
up.
upset.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know what I
I
mean?
know what you
Yeah,
mean.
which is weird. Which is weird.
Yeah,
It's just one of those years where everybody's packed together, and a lot of these teams, oh, if you had one more guy, then they'd be able to put it away, right? If you had one more guy, you'd be able. If such and such stayed another year, or such and such didn't transfer, then it would be a different story. But everybody seems to have strengths, as you outlined, but everybody also has noticeable weaknesses. You put together your projections of all Americans too, and you have BYU, NAU, and Stanford all having 3 projected All Americans, but that doesn't tell the whole story because we know 4 and 5 are so important.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, looking back, you just have to. NAU has a huge hill to climb. They have to replace Luis Grijalva and Blaze Farrow, 2 guys who finished in the top 15. Whereas
Yeah.
Oklahoma State and Notre Dame, they don't have to replace anyone. They just bring everyone back. Oklahoma State actually added someone. Notre Dame
Mm-hmm.
added a guy in Carmody who didn't run. So Oklahoma
Yeah.
State and Notre Dame added. Oklahoma State added a 1330 guy. Notre Dame added a 1340 guy. Northern Arizona lost a 13 teens guy and a sub 28 10K guy. So like
Yeah.
Notre Dame has a much harder hill to win. I mean, that's what's so impressive about Notre Dame, that the fact they're still in the conversation despite losing those. But in order for, I have in my cross country show tomorrow, I'm gonna do a whole breakdown of how each of these teams will win, like what needs to happen, and
Yeah.
basically I kind of do a creation where it's not about what you do, it's about what other teams do. So the only team that can control their own destiny is Oklahoma State, in my opinion. And then
Yeah.
as you go down the pecking order, you need something to go wrong with Oklahoma State for Northern Arizona to win, something to go wrong with both of those teams for Notre Dame to win. Both the top
Mhm.
3 teams need something to go wrong for BYU to win, and et cetera, all the way down to Colorado. So I kind
Yeah.
of break it out.
And on the flip side of that, you could have a team not even podium that could win because someone's not going to have a good day. Just law of
Yeah.
averages tell us that. So you could have a team tumble all the way down to 6 or 7 because someone's going to have a good day from that second group. All right, let's jump over to the women. Let's go to the women and your final women's rankings. Gordon, you have NC State 1, Colorado 2, New Mexico 3, BYU 4, and Minnesota 5.
Yeah, so the top 4 have pretty much stayed the top 4 for the past few rankings, even the same order now. Minnesota women kind of now, in my opinion, have bumped over Alabama. However, Alabama did have a good showing from Jamie Reed, who ran well at the regional. Well, not amazing, but formidable, better than a DNF. But really, this is a 4-team race: NC State, Colorado, New Mexico, BYU. With NC State being the team that can control their own destiny, because if NC State does what they're capable of, there's no way Colorado, New Mexico, BYU beat them. And yeah, you could find an equal project, not an equal timeline. No, what's the word? I forget. A reality. Oh, shit. What am I
I don't
trying to
know,
say?
man. Usually if you get close, I can take you that final yard, but
An
I'm a little
equal.
I'm not there.
Oh, I can't come up. Okay. Anyway,
I'm u-
simulation. No, it's simulation that I'm thinking. I don't know. Simulation. Uh, where you could see a world where NC State wins, you could see a world where Colorado wins, where New Mexico wins,
yeah,
where BYU wins, and it's not being a whoa, I can't believe they did it. Like it all would be like,
yeah.
yeah, you're the best team, you know.
Mhm.
So
You
they all have
have
their flaws. NC State has the least, so that's why they're number one.
you have BYU, Minnesota, NC State, and New Mexico all projected All Americans. New Mexico with Mazzadowney, Larkin, and Heckel. NC State, Camille, Tui, and Steelman. Minnesota, Haas, Kohut Jackson. BYU, Orton, Camp, and Frenthaway. And then you have Colorado getting 2 with Nichols and Covert. And Alabama, Arkansas, Weber State also getting 2. That makes sense to me. All that tracks. Again, I think it's going to be real close. This one, though, I would be shocked if someone outside the top 4 won it. But if BYU, coming from number 4, defending champion, bring everybody back, that's not surprising if they win a couple months later. Different course entirely. But I actually think when you talk about what courses favor what types of athletes, you'd think this sort of setup would be good for Orton and Camp. Camp 1500-meter NCAA champion, and Orton really good on the track as well too. I'm sure someone could trot out, well, but NC State's track PBs and this, that, the other. But I just think for at least for those two, this is a good setup. Because we saw last year Orton struggled with the tough course in Stillwater.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the individuals. I put up a tweet last night while I was going through the rankings, and I discovered there are only 5 athletes who are undefeated who plan on competing at NCAA cross country. Connor Mance
Mhm,
is 5-0, Athanas Kyoko 4-0, Silly
mhm.
McCabe 4-0, Mercy Chilling got 3-0, and then I forgot I added at the end Whitney Orton, who's also 2-0 because she didn't run at regionals, so she just
Yeah,
won FSU Open and the conference championship. So 5 women, three women, 2 men, undefeated. Are we going to have an undefeated athlete come Tallahassee when those 5 athletes race? Will 1 or 2 of them win?
yeah. McCabe's been great and has come out of nowhere. I guess I would say the best pick would be Mance. I would feel the best about Mance, but Wesley Kiptoo's in the race, so that's gonna be. I don't feel good about anything. I don't feel good about anything. I like Mance from the perspective of he's done it before and he seems to be able to roll with any sort of condition and never have a bad race. So you know he's going to be in it. It's just a matter of is he going to be able to close when the time comes. And this is a different type of race than before. Wildshot's going to be really good on his home course tier. We expect to be good. We talked about Isai Rodriquez before, Nico Young. Charles Hicks has been running really well. Kyoko, you mentioned, is undefeated. It's going to be tough. But I think of that group, I would go Mance.
I'd like to add, look at these records: 5-0, 4-0, 4-0, 3-0. So
Yeah.
let's assume they're all going to run one more time. So Mercy Chalanga, if she wins, she could go 4-0.
Hmm.
This is kind of shows why our sport's kind of weird, because we're going to see a football team play 13 games and be 13-0 or 12-1, but we're going to see the best
Yeah.
NCAA cross country athlete only be 4-0 in the season. And I just
Yeah.
think athletes are capable of racing more than 4 times in a 3-month span, you know. So that just goes to show
A
that our sport is
revolutionary
kind
take
of,
there from Gordon.
we're screwing ourselves. We're trying to pretend it's a season when they're only playing the game 4 to 5 times. It's like, come on. We
Yeah.
should be playing 7 to 12 times. Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's
And I
make it
guess that
happen. Make the season longer or
and I
whatever.
and I guess that's why I feel more confident in Manch, just because we've seen him several more times this year than, for example, Chilangat. Although I think Chilangat is the favorite. I think you have her. I think you have that women's pecking order ranked pretty correct with Chilangat, McCabe, Orton, Nichols, and Forbes. But I'll go Mance. I'll go Mance there. Do you want to show your other odds too? Because you went deeper than just the top couple here.
Yeah,
You
so we have
went
some betting
full on
odds.
Vegas style here. This is impressive.
Vegas style. This is the men's betting odds. We'll show those first. We got Connor Mance as minus 150, Wesley Kiptu minus 150. And then, so basically, they're kind of the together, the favorites together. You can kind of bet on either one. And then Adrian
Yeah.
Wildershut plus 100, Cooper Tier plus 150, Nico Young for all the NAU fans out there plus 300, Rodriguez plus 400, Nur plus 400, Charles Hicks plus 500, Kyoko plus 500, and then the field plus 750. And this is all to win. So, what are your thoughts on those odds? Who'd you put your money on, based on these odds?
I'd probably throw some money on Kyoko plus 500.
Yeah,
That's pretty good. I'm seeing who I could get from the field. So is that 10 right there that you have listed? I think it is.
I
So
have
who is
9 listed.
outside the 09? Okay. Who's the number 10 person? Who can I get for the field here? You have Jacobs, Bosley, Klinger, Herrera, Amon, Kemboy. I might throw some money there too. But yeah, I go Kyoko. I go
Yeah,
Kyoko on the flyer here. That's a lot of value for him. But look, I just brought up the fact that I think Mance is the favorite. You have him co-favorite. I won't argue with that. I think that's solid. Nico at plus 300 is interesting. Yeah, I would probably put some money on Nico as well too. Those are the
yeah.
value picks. Because if you're just comparing Nico to Mance, and I know we don't want to read into the Mountain Region results, but he was pretty close to him, and you have Mance at a minus 150, meaning you'd have to bet 150 to get 100, versus Nico, where you bet 100, you get 300. These are made up, by the way. These are not real. You can't actually bet on these. These are Gordon's creations, and they're great creations, by the way. So I would just say relative to everybody else, he's a bit lower than I would say, and I can envision him winning the race. What about you? When you put these together, where you're like, hey, I created some value for myself.
Well, I think it's going to be Connor Mance or Wesley Kiptu. The whole point of having all the other odds is to collect money from the people who think they're going to win to make up for having to
I'm gonna
pay out
win.
for all the Mance and Kiptu betters. So, yeah, I think from betting the Olympics, I learned, yeah, you could kind of chase value with a Nico Young or Thanos Kyoko. But at the end of the day, it's going to be Kiptu or Mance. So you might as well just bet one of those. So that's my opinion.
Are you
Uh,
accusing me of chasing value, Gordon?
I am
Because
accusing.
I
I
am.
chased a lot of value during the Olympics and ended up losing $277. But I had to gamble $4,500, so it was not that bad. We have the women's odds up here. I know one of our colleagues, Travis, has to go to a meeting, so we got these odds up there for people to see.
Hmm.
But I like these. This is more fun. Mercy
Yeah.
Chilangat, heavy favorite, minus 200. Then McCabe plus 100, Whitney Orton plus 150. And then there's a big drop off. Nichols, Forbes, and Rowe are all plus 400. Camille, O'Neill, Vestry, and Camelli are all plus 500. Caitlin Tui is a plus 750. So you got to put Tui and Nico Young in the odds because you know you're going to just get those kids who
Yeah.
want to go in on there. And I think I spelled Tui's name wrong. I called her Touchy. I think there's a typo in the.
Yeah.
I apologize about that.
Tuohy.
And then the field is plus 1,000.
Okay. So if you're saying there's a clear top tier, again, I'll chase value in that top tier, and I would go Orton at plus 150, which will continue
Yeah.
my streak of picking Whitney Orton to win NCAA title for about the last 3 years, I think.
And I think that's why I put Whitney Orton at plus 150 because it's going to get people like you to like, all right, I'm going for it. When really they should be putting their money on Chilenga. They all go for the Orton because they think they're getting the reach for that extra $50. And then in the end, you just
Yeah.
lose the same amount of money. So,
Risking
um,
less, though. I'm risking less. You Well, you've been on the Mercy Chelangat. You built the Mercy Chelangat bandwagon a couple years ago with a hammer and nails and just excellent foresight. So I don't expect you to hop off now. Back to back, Gordon. Is that what you're picking?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think she has the experience. McCabe is a good challenger, but she's only a sophomore. She's kind of been running out of her
Yep.
mind. I think she hasn't raced Chilangat, right? So she's beaten everyone here except for Orton and Chilangat. They're the three undefeated. So
Yeah.
you have a reason to say McCabe over a Forbes, over a Nichols, over a Rowe, over Camille, et cetera, et cetera. But you just don't
Hmm.
have it for an excuse to say her over Chilangat. So I think Chilangat wins. I think McCabe probably finishes third. She's probably in it and then, finishes in the top three. So I think
How do
those
we feel
three
about
women could all
Forbes?
finish in the top three. Four
Forbes has only
is
lost once this
anybody.
year.
I mean, I think fourth place could be anyone who I have ranked fourth through 25th. Like, I think
Yeah.
anyone could finish in the fourth place position.
I'm wondering about Grace Forbes. She's only lost once, and it was to Taryn O'Neill. I wonder. This is what I think about too. Because the course is so fast, I'm assuming everybody's going to get after it early on. But what if someone does slip away early on? We get, for example, like a Kip 2 from last year. Although that was more predictable. Let's go back to you. Peter Sufer, remember? Vatek
Yeah.
ran out there and led for a little bit. Women's side, we've seen that before. Usually because it's shorter distance, they close it down quicker. But I wonder if someone's just going to really, really go for it because the weather is going to be good for them because they're from a warmer weather spot, and the course is not intimidating to them at all because it's so fast. And we're gonna get somebody who just guns it and goes wire to wire. And I'm trying to think of the racing style of these women and the men that you listed. Who would be the most likely to do that? I guess on the men's side, it would be someone like Kyoko to just drop a crazy top, or Wesley Wesley Kiptoo, but he's more of a known commodity. Someone who's just gonna like put out some sick like first couple K splits.
Let me look at Chilenga at SCC. So Chilenga at SCC won by 9 seconds over Joyce Camelli.
Mm-hmm.
Camelli has, she's won the NCAA indoor 5K, I believe, right? Yeah, she won five, and then she was runner up in the steeple
Mm-hmm.
outdoor.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Camelli. Maybe Camelli pushes Chilenga, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't. I think a lot of these women are on teams. I think they're not gonna. They're gonna be not. They're gonna be thinking finish top five, finish top five, finish top five, right?
Yeah.
Like I think Orton is not thinking about winning. I think she's thinking about finishing top five. I think Nichols
I
isn't
just
thinking
think it.
about winning. I think she's thinking about finishing top five. Same thing with Taylor Rowe, Camille O'Neill, Best Street. Like so, I would argue Camille, Joyce Camille, and Chilenga isn't on a team, but she's good enough to win, so she's finished thinking about winning. Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to
I
push
just
it. It's
think.
only a 6K. Yeah, I don't think it's going to.
I think they're gonna push it. I think the men maybe not because the longer distance and they were doing 8Ks early in the year. Maybe there's a little more respect for it. I think the women are gonna go out there, and I don't think they're gonna be intimidated by the course at all. I mean, look at the last couple championships. Oklahoma State. Dave Smith gave that press conference ahead of the meet and basically is like, "This is the hardest course you'll ever run on. This is like hell on earth. This is so intimidating." Not that they didn't know how hard the course was initially, but it just goes to show you how hard it was. Year before that, what we're in Terre Haute, right? Terrible weather, no incentive to really go out that hard, and that course can be tricky. And then the year before that, it's Madison when it's snowing, and that course has a couple hills on it. I just think they're standing at the starting line and they're thinking, this is perfect conditions for me. I have nothing that's making me hold it back. And you're right. Maybe that's going to be advantageous for someone who's not on a team because they're just going to take a flyer on it, or their team isn't in in the podium hunt, and they'll just go for it from the gun. But Orton is someone who naturally likes to push anyway. It's their last race. I just don't. It's not going to be like Stillwater where you see people literally falling down like it's the zombie apocalypse in the last kilometer. Like people are gonna be able to hold it together because the course just isn't that hard.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I just think it's gonna be the opposite. I think the women, I don't think anyone's gonna push it. I think the women through 3K, through 3.5, through 4K, there'll still be 25 people in the front pack through 4K. And then in that final 2K is when it'll start separating to 10 to 5 to 1. Men's side, I
Mhm,
think Kyoko, Kiptoo, Mance, they're
mhm.
going to go. And it's going to be balls to the wall. I
I think
think
I
I
think
think
Wild Shot's gonna
Kiptoo
be up there too at
and
home
Wild Shot,
course. I think
yeah.
Wild Shot will be up there.
And I
Yeah.
think Tier is going to be like trying to be like, all right, sit and kick, sit and kick. And then there's going to be a point when Tier's like, dang, man, like this 10K stuff, eh? I'm more of a 5K miler, man. But like, I'm sure Tier is going to be thinking, just try to conserve, and then save it for the end. And maybe Tier kind of,
Yeah,
Tier's
it's
going to be
hard.
praying that they don't go out hard. Because if they don't go out hard, Tier's winning it. But I
Yeah,
think
I agree.
Kip2 and Kyoko are going to make it hard. So therefore, Tier won't win. So,
It's a cross country race, so it's hard.
yeah.
It could be downhill the entire way. It could be flat. It doesn't matter. It's gonna be hard. 6K or 10K. It's gonna be difficult. All I'm saying is there's less of an I when you're at the starting line. There's less of an idea of man. I got to battle my competition and the elements and the course, and more of a focus on just you're just beating the people next to you, and less of a hey, this is gonna be tough. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get over that hill, or I don't know if my legs are gonna warm up, or how deep is that mud going to be at the 1K mark? All those things have gone out the window, and it's just a pure, as close to track as we can get. You've been saying it all year. It's track meet. It's track meet. It's track meet. Well, what does track meet create? A controlled environment. And when the weather is good, there's even fewer variables that you have to think about, and people are going to take chances in that setup. Is
Yeah,
there
right
anything
now
else
the
you want to touch on
forecast
with cross?
Forecast is 58% humidity, 69 degrees is the high for Saturday in
Yeah.
Tallahassee. Partly cloudy.
So what does that tell you? It's just another not ideal in terms of it could be chillier to go faster, but these people aren't going to be they're not going to be intimidated by weather like that. That's fine. They've all run in weather like that.
I
There's the
mean, you
people
could
that'll
maybe
say it's
argue
not
maybe
true
the
cross country weather.
you could argue maybe this might here's a question. Does it being hot, is that going to advantage the teams that train in hotter weather leading up to this race and disadvantage the teams that have been training in the Midwest, Northeast where it's cold? Like will the will Texas run better than Princeton because Texas was
Mm.
able to train in more heat than Princeton when it got colder earlier on in New Jersey? Like
It
I look at
depends if it
Texas and
actually gets
Princeton
hot.
as
Yeah.
kind of the same. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. It depends if it actually gets hot though, or does it just stay pleasant? Because if it just stays pleasant, I think everybody's fine running in pleasant weather. What you said is interesting though, because we've always talked about the opposite being true. When it's freezing cold, everyone looks at, well, how'd the schools from California do? How'd the schools from the Sun Belt do? Oh, they
Yeah.
struggled a bit. Must have been because of the cold weather. We have rarely had a situation where, man, how do these cold weather teams deal with hot cross country? Because hot cross country does not exist in November in the NCAA because they always usually put it in spots where it's freezing cold. I remember talking to Lance Harder a couple of years ago when the sites got announced, or maybe the sites hadn't even been announced, but it was after maybe Madison where it was snowing, and he thought, well, it's not a bad thing to rotate it. Like you don't need to be miserable and run cross country. The fans going out there would probably like it if the weather was nice. So I think this is going to be welcome for a lot of teams and coaches and programs out there to have it in conditions that are nice. These conditions remind me of Foot Locker, right? Where
Yeah.
it's in San Diego, or back before it was in San Diego, it was in Florida. and you'd get these pictures of these brilliantly sunny days and everyone in t-shirts and flip-flops watching the race run on a golf course or in a park. This is not going to be Madison a couple of years ago. And I think that's kind of interesting. We're going to get people complain about it and discount it, but people complain and discount about everything. When the weather's too bad, people say, "Well, that wasn't even a real race." And even when the weather is bad and it's tough, people say, "Well, in Europe they jump over hay bales that are 20 feet tall and get chased by sheep, and we don't do that in America." They just come up with numerous ways to say that this is not tough enough. So whatever. We all know what the course is. We've known what the course is going to be for several months. People have the opportunity to prepare themselves, even race on the course itself, and now we get to see it. But I do think it is going to be a factor as the course is every single year. This year more so because it's not Terre Haute. You had a beat on Madison. You had a beat on Louisville. A couple years you had a beat on it. This one, not as much.
So before we get into the final news items the the week, let's kind of plan out what we're doing for cross country coverage. So when are we doing our XC draft? Are we doing our XC draft on the Wednesday podcast or the Friday podcast?
Friday. So Wednesday, 9
Okay.
a.m., Friday, 9 a.m., and we'll do the draft. Should we get someone else to come? Do we need 3 people for that?
We might need
Does it
a
make
third.
it better?
We could, if we want,
Yeah.
have our producer Colt draft with us. And
Ooh,
if he beats us, it's very embarrassing. So basically have
okay.
the non cross country guy
Here
try to beat us by just picking based off of that name looks good. That person sounds
okay,
fast.
Colt, turn your mic on for a sec. Colt, just tell the listeners real quick, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you know about NCAA cross country?
Well, I ran cross country in 8th grade.
Oh,
So
I didn't know
that's the
that.
extent of my experience. I was not very good. It was training for football, and I did not really care about it. That's it. That's all I know.
So 0?
Could
We'll
be
put
a
you at
winner.
0 in terms of the Okay,
I
you
think
might.
0's fair.
I didn't know he
Yeah,
ran.
0's fair.
Okay. All right, I think that's a good idea. We'll give him a link to your rankings, Gordon, and he can go off that,
Yeah,
and he can be the third person selecting. He can be the control group, basically. And now that I think about
exactly.
it, this is gonna be really embarrassing. We're setting ourselves up for a humiliating
He's
defeat.
definitely going to beat
Do
us.
you want to talk
Yeah.
about Do you want to talk about Saturday, Gordon? What we're doing during the
Yeah, and
race?
then Saturday we're going to go live at 9 a.m. For 9 a.m. Central. So actually same time as the podcast time. 9 a.m. Central. Races start at 9:20 Central, and we'll do like a another pre-show for the first 20 minutes. Get excited, and then we will watch the races live with you, react in real time. Um, Maybe find ways to get the coaches to call in. The winning coaches like we did last year, which was pretty fun. We had Diljeet Taylor and Mike Smith call in after winning. See if we can do the same thing here. In order to do that, you have to like prepare the coaches. Say, hey, call into our show. So
Exactly.
you have to like select. All right, here are the coaches we want to send the link to. To like, hey, if you win, click this link.
Yeah,
So that's gonna be the plan.
it's tough. It's tough to figure out. We were fortunate last year, and it was fun. So what time are we starting again on
9
Saturday?
a.m. 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Central.
Central. You can watch live on YouTube. You can do second screen thing. We will not be streaming the race, but we'll be doing the projections throughout. Hopefully, we'll have a guest. Hopefully, we'll have a non-Colt guest. I mean, Colt will be here, but he won't be the featured guest. We'll get someone who ran cross country in 9th grade and 8th grade. All right, 2 more stories. Gordon, I want to talk about. First up, Eric Kennard gets his London 2012 gold medal in the high jump. A couple years ago, Ivan Ukov got banned by the Court of Arbitration of Sport for anti-doping violation, which meant that Kennard was going to be elevated, but paperwork and all that other stuff complicated things, and Kennard had to wait until just recently before he was confirmed as the gold medalist. Just 9 years ago, it's crazy. So that year there was a 3-way tie for bronze with Derek Drouin, Robbie Grabars, and Mutaz Esseb Barshim. They'll now move up to silver. So there'll be a new gold medalist, 3 new silver medalists, and no bronze medals. So I guess they'll give those bronze medals back and they'll go nowhere. But headline here, Kennard will get a gold medal. And these things are always tricky because you find out about the person getting busted and you have to go back and look at the dates that it was impacted, but then it takes time. It's not as if, oh, so and so was suspended or is going to have their medal stripped and boom, automatically the next person gets it. Usually there's a process that has to play out. And I guess he already would have had to wait 7 years to get the gold medal. So now he's at 9 years, but he will get the gold for the 2012 high jump.
You know what they need to do? They need to have in some type of athlete contract at any world championship or Olympic Games. So all the athletes have to sign it. In order to be eligible to receive an Olympic medal, you have to sign this piece of paper. And what this piece of paper says, in the event that you lose you get stripped of your medal due to a doping violation, you are required to hand deliver the medal to the next athlete who is being upgraded. If you choose not to hand deliver this medal, you will be fined $1 million. I think that would be good because it's like I want to see. I want the person have to be like shamed and be like, "Here you go. Here's my medal. I am and just look them in the eye. Like these athletes should be forced to look these people in the eye, not be able to hide it behind 9 years of like, oh yeah, we forgot about it, and then you get the medal in a FedEx package and everything's okay.
Yeah.
And the athlete who tested positive can just go home and not really have to deal with like the guilt. No, they should be forced to pay their own way, fly, drive, take a train to wherever that person lives on their accord, show up at their doorstep with the medal, and look at them in the eye. You don't have to say anything to them. You can be a coward and just give it to them and run away. But you have to be forced to kind of look at what you did in the person. You have to look at the person you screwed over in the eye. You have to be a man and a woman about it. You got to look at them in the eye and be like, "Here you go. Yes, I am." You know, that's a true way of saying you're also sorry, right? You're getting in a car, you're going, and maybe you talk about it. Maybe this will build bridges between countries and athletes, and maybe Kennard could be able to like have a beer with this guy and be like, yeah, man, I was just caught up in it and I felt like I need to do it. And I feel so bad about it, but you're the rightful owner of this gold medal. And I'm glad I'm able to finally give you what you rightfully deserve. I just think we should force banned athletes to hand deliver the medals to the upgraded athletes.
So kind of the opposite vibe of a Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstake winner. You show up at their door and they have the balloons and the giant check. This, you give them something and they're going to want it, but the person giving it is doing it out of shame and disrepute, as opposed to someone being like, "Hey, you won." But you have a knack of turning all these little twists and turns and track and field into potential reality shows here.
Yeah, you got to
that would
vlog
be
it too.
interesting.
You have to vlog it so we all can watch the exchange go down.
So what's up, guys? I'm really embarrassed to say this, but I'm outside who used to be the silver medalist house. I had to go to some really far-flung place out in Ohio. I'm about to give them my gold medal because I got popped for doping. Let you know how it goes. Make sure you subscribe down below for more videos of me handing back my medals because I cheated for a very long time and I got to turn a lot of these in. Does anybody know how to get to Sweden? Hit me up. Like that.
That'd be great. Be great,
Yeah.
And also there'll be a thing is if the athlete doesn't want to look at this person in the face, they're allowed to reject the invite, but they're only allowed to reject the invite once the person shows up at the house. So you have to still make them make the trip and drop the medal off in the mailbox or whatever. And then, but you don't tell them. You tell them like at the very last moment, no, I'm not going to look at you in the face, and they have to put it in the mailbox.
That'd be a good story. I wonder if this has been written before. Maybe our friend Nick Siccardi from NBC should get on this. I saw he's back from paternity leave. I want the story of how they get the medal back and how the medal gets to the rightful owner, because that's got to be a weird setup. I know, was it Adam Nelson who got his medal in the airport next to like a Jack in the Box or something? There was some
Yeah,
story
and then
about
it
how he
was.
got it from, but like, how do they get it from the person? That's what I want to know. That's the other half of the story that needs to be told.
It would be cool if like there is just an athlete out there who gets their medal stripped, who just feels the
They
need
lost
to
it.
do it. Just feels the need to get on a plane and hand deliver it. They're just like so
Mm,
overwhelmed with the guilt. They're like, I've been keeping this
okay.
secret for 4, 5, 12 years. I need to get it off my
Hmm.
chest. That'll be a great story. And then they hug it out,
I like
and then they become best friends, and then they become the godfathers to each other's kids. It'll be perfect.
that. All right,
And
we're
it'd be
off the
like,
rails.
let me tell you a story. My great
Yeah,
grandfather's godfather, like, had like this crazy story where he defeated him in the Olympics, and then 12 years later they became
I got.
best friends, and
You know what they call the movie?
what?
The Godfather.
I
Oh,
thought you could do a
no.
better joke
Okay.
there. Come on, I thought
No,
you
it's
could do a
kind of
better joke.
funny.
I thought you were looking for
I
like a
thought it was
pun
funny.
on like Olympic.
Oh
Whatever.
no, no. I couldn't do any better than that. I was in when I was in Doha, they had a lot of reallocation ceremonies for previous world championships. Like Alicia Montano got her medal upgraded. I want to say Brenda Martinez. They were putting basically all new podiums up there and playing the national anthems for all the countries. And I get the idea, but it just seemed as if people were still obviously as mad or even madder about it because it just brought like more attention to it. And I think World Athletics was thinking, "Hey, we're going to correct our mistakes and we're going to own it publicly," which is cool. But then the people come up and get their medal, and then they're so rightfully pissed of, "Hey, why did it take so long to figure this out?" And there's still this issue or that issue. I think on paper they thought it would be much more joyous, but then it's just a reminder of, oh, this moment got robbed from me before, and now we're doing it because they would do it in the morning session or like no one was there. I mean, no one was there the whole meet because it was the 2019 World Championships, but there was really no one there. Like when they were doing these things, it wasn't as if they were doing it right before the 100-meter final when there was the most possible attention.
Would
Anyway, um,
people are upset about that? Would you be upset if like imagine that if you get a upgrade in medal due to doping sanction, you're also giving a
yeah,
prize award of like $1 million. Do you think the blow of having their moment taken away from them will be lessened by having a
sure, sure,
automatic um,
yeah, payday.
payday?
Get some
Yeah.
back pay because you definitely lost out on money, and that's a real consideration. It's a professional sport. I just don't know the best way to handle that stuff because you're almost treating it when you have that medal ceremony, you're treating it like, oh, this was a medal that was awarded in 2019. Oh no, wait, it was 2013. We're just redoing it, so we're all good now, right? And I think it brings up a lot of bad memories. Then again, it's impossible to know who's cheating that second. And first and foremost, it's not the. I don't think it's the governing body's fault. It's the individual athlete's fault, and those then if the national federations are involved in the doping, it's their fault. I get that World Athletics is trying to fix it. It just I remember it happening, and it was a strange feeling because it wasn't happy, it wasn't sad, it was something in between those two emotions for all the athletes. And I think Semenya got upgraded too, if I'm remembering this correctly, while also being banned from competing in the event because of she's DSD, if I'm remembering this setup correctly.
It's
Like,
all.
but I don't think she went there to get the medal, if I'm remembering it right. But
No, of
anyway,
course not.
one more story. Let's see. Oh, Elaine Thompson, hurrah! We've been following this story about the potential coaching slash sponsor change. Gordon, it appears that she's still with Nike. According to her Instagram, still lists Nike in her bio, but she gave another interview last Wednesday, but I just saw it. She talked about how she had outgrown the MVP track club. So if there was any doubt that she has left Stephen Francis's group, there you have it. So she'll be training with her husband and also Bert Cameron. What do you think? A lot of her through this whole saga, this whole back and forth, there was a lot of just talking around what it was. what do you think outgrown means? I mean, she ran 10:54, number 2 all time. She was wildly successful. I always thought that meant, hey, it's going to come with some sort of sponsorship change because that's what was heavily implied. But if it's not having to do with sponsorship, what do you think outgrown means? I mean, Shelly Ann's not there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes like athletes just outgrow the culture of the team that they're on. You know, sometimes you can in like distance running, there's times when the culture is a lot more young in their 20s type, where
Mhm.
it's like college 2.0, but then you're like, oh, I'm married. Oh, I have a kid. Like, oh, I don't want my life to just revolve around my running circle. I want other things in life. So I kind of want to take a
Yeah.
step away and not just spend 8 days every day and night in Portland. Maybe I want to live in a different location with closer to other family members or whatever.
Right.
So you just kind of outgrow the world. When you're 23, it seems like awesome. This is life as a runner. But then when you're 28, you're like, you kind of want to do other stuff, but you're still talented. You still want to run, but you don't want to breathe it like every day with a bunch of other 22-year-olds. So,
Mhm.
uh, so there could be like a cultural change. Maybe she's like kind of wants to do her own thing because she's done it enough. She's kind of like, I've graduated. I've graduated from
Mhm.
this world, and now I want to go into a different stage of my career. Shelly Ann Fraser did it. You know, and maybe this is Elaine Thompson Hall. I mean, it's always fun to think it's some like nefarious thing, or like she hates the coach, or she got in a
Mhm.
fight with a training partner or whatever. But like a lot of times it's not that. A lot of times it's like, hey, I just kind of want to move on. Now,
Just grab it.
because she first said it was rumors, right? And she didn't want to admit that this was happening.
Yeah.
And also
Yeah.
because we kind of aren't given an obvious reasoning. Like even when they interviewed um, the coach, he didn't really, Stephen Francis didn't really
Yeah.
give that much of a reason. So they had an opportunity to be like, oh, she's just older. She wants to do a different thing. Love her to death. It was great to coach her. I can't wish nothing but the best for her next few years on the track. But you didn't really get
Yeah.
that, so you kind of want to think, all right, why aren't they being more up front? But maybe they're thinking, hey, this is none of your business. I want to do this now. Why is it a big deal?
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
it's that too.
the upshot of it is you have Stephen Francis, one of the best sprint coaches in the world, still has a group, but he had Shelly Ann. She left. And then now you have Elaine leaving. So he had two of the three best sprinters of all time at one point under his tutelage, and now he doesn't have any of them. So it's weird how that worked out, and that leaves room, Gordon, for a new high profile sprinter. No. Still a chance. There's still a chance it happens. There's still a chance. He didn't say no.
That's
He didn't say
true.
yes, but he didn't
Did
say
not
no.
say no.
Everybody's being coy. Everybody's being but coy about this stuff, and I get it. It's a big deal in Jamaica. If this was in the United States, it would probably just get well. People wouldn't be asked as much, but maybe they'd be more forthcoming because it wouldn't kick off a firestorm. But I just want people to say what they think and just yeah, I left, and this is why. Because that's why Francis's statement, like his comments were he was being coy. You're right, but with some stuff when he's talking about oh yeah, Shelly Ann left, and her and Elaine weren't going to be in the same group. He was more upfront than I'm used to hearing. I just wished we'd get more info quicker, and the sponsorship thing made sense logically because you're not thinking that the person who just ran one of the greatest seasons in track and field history is going to try to change things for 2022. But she is. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, you can look through Sha'Carri Richardson's Twitter and try to find if there's any like hints of like on location in Jamaica type stuff, but I couldn't find
I think
anything.
that'd be
You just have to
news.
wait.
I think that'd be
We're
news.
still we're still in off season mode. I mean,
Yeah.
Sha'Carri's probably not even gonna run until probably April. I bet. I bet she doesn't
Yeah.
go indoor. So like,
Yeah.
She has time to figure everything out. Same thing with these Jamaican athletes too. They don't run indoor either. So for a lot of these, like maybe Elaine Thompson-Herod does have something, but she doesn't need to worry about it till another 4 months, right? We think the season is just around the corner because we're going to have indoor track like December 12th, December 4th and 12th. But for a lot of these international athletes, especially Jamaican athletes, season doesn't start till April. So it's still like the off season has just not even begun yet in a way. Like they still are in the thick of off season. So
You know who's all in on indoor?
who?
Me. Going to all the meets, USA champs, Spokane, new facility out in Spokane. Looks beautiful. World champs, Gordon. Let's go to Belgrade. Let's do it up, man.
We're getting tickets to Belgrade.
DQs?
You got that approved?
I'm in.
Okay, I'm in. If you can make it happen, I'll go.
Yeah, I think it'll work. Friday, March 11th through Sunday, March 13th. Works out with my schedule perfectly. Never been to Belgrade. When else am I gonna have a chance to go to Belgrade? I think this is it. This is the year.
You can go to Belgrade whenever you want. That's the thing. When people say that, when else am I gonna have the chance to go here? You have the chance to go there every day of your life. You just choose not to.
Well, no, I have 3 kids. I actually don't because they'll be gone if I come back.
Hire a babysitter. You can handle it. Bring your kids over here. I'll take care of them.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
We're gonna clip that. Would you trust me? Would you trust me with your 3 children for 48 hours?
I trust you with my oldest.
Okay.
I wouldn't trust you with the baby because baby's tough. Baby's tough for anybody. Yeah. I wouldn't put that on you. If I had to run an errand or something, or I had like an appointment and I had to leave my son with you for 6 hours, I'd be comfortable with that. My oldest. I'd be fine. Even my daughter. I'd be
perfect.
She's turned 4. So but I would not go to Belgrade without, just on a lark. The reason people say that is because it's a opportunity cost thing, because then you're like, well, if I'm going to go on a trip, why would I ever pick this place? So that's why they say it. It's like an excuse to go to a place that's the 50th best place for you, or the 27th place that's most interesting to you. Something like that.
Taking shots at Belgrade, man. They didn't.
No,
there's probably people from Serbia right now who are like, what the hell? Unsubscribe from this podcast.
Let me look at some images. What does Belgrade look? Let me get some. Let's see, Belgrade. Oh, okay. All right, it moved up. Moved up a bit. Looks lovely. Yeah. I need to go to hotels.com to read the 10 best things to do in Belgrade and add World Indoor Championships to the list. There we go. All right. Thanks, Cole.
Type in Belgrade nightlife. Click that button.
Oh, do I want to do that? Okay, Gordon. All right, that's nuts. That's not what we're doing. I'm gonna look at Serbia. We go to a basketball game out there.
I'll be good.
Right? Yeah. Boban.
Get some Boban.
Boban is Serbian. Yeah. Let's see who else. Best Serbian basketball players. Let's see. I'm gonna do. Jokic, obviously. And then Boban, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Bjelica, Peja, Stojakovic, Darko Milicic.
Who's who?
Oh, Poku. Poku is Serbian as well. There we go. Big list. All right. Thanks to Colt. Thanks to Travis. Remember, Wednesday, 9 a.m., Friday, 9 a.m., Saturday, 9 a.m. That's the schedule this week for your FloTrack podcast as we get closer to the NCAA Cross Country Championships. Email the show, FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com. We'll talk to you guys next time.